Hello, welcome to one of my first official videos. I am the Longevity Gamer, and so this is going to be one of the first videos where I don't just say things off the top of my head like in my vlog videos. I actually put some thought into this, and I've been wanting to make this video for a while about how I track my sleep. I use the Whoop wristband, and I look at more metrics, I think, than Whoop gives you automatically. It gives you lots of metrics to look at, which I really appreciate. But there's a few key ones which I also will show you here, and that I've been tracking in a spreadsheet, and I'll show you how I track that as well. So let's get right into it. As you can see over here, this is my sleep last night. It was great overall for me, but I think I actually have some extra challenges compared to a lot of other people that I've seen, but maybe not. Maybe it's very common. So I wanted to show you what I look for in the data to know when I'm having those challenges and where to look for them too. So over here, we see 8 hours of sleep, 3 hours, 50 minutes restorative sleep. Slept from 9:36 p.m. to 6:17 a.m. Awake for 36 minutes, 2 hours almost each of slow wave sleep, deep, and REM. So let me bring up my tracker spreadsheet, and we're gonna get into a lot more data down below, but I just want to show you first. I guess let me scroll down here so you can see. So with the date, let me zoom in just a little bit. So if I highlight this row for today, and then we bring back this so you can compare it. Let's just look at these numbers to the left and see where I got them from. Okay, so 936 comes right out of here. 617 comes right over there. And then the next one I track is awake amount, 36, right from there, the amount of time I spent awake during the night. Now, total sleep, this one is calculated. And let me show you. This one I made a little formula, which takes, it's kind of the difference between bedtime, wake time, and then minus the awake time. So we get kind of hours of sleep, which is actually very similar to this one. Now that I think about it, maybe that's exactly how they calculate. But anyway, that's kind of my own calculation there. So then I just copy the 2 hours deep and 149 for REM, 204, 149 directly from that. So this is all just mostly recording into the spreadsheet for my own, so I can make my own graphs and things with that data. But now, sleep cycles. This is one that I have come up with myself to tell whether I'm having a good night's sleep or not, I think. Let me show you how I look at that. Okay, so we have this is the starting page for last night's sleep. Now we bring up another one. Let's put it over here, not under me. Okay, so if you click from this page, this page, you click on any of these, you click on deep, REM, light, or awake, it'll expand the rows so that you can see the times during the night. This is graphing your heart rate, by the way, and then it will spread these out to show you what times during the night you were in deep sleep. And this is really useful because from my reading in the book, Why We Sleep by Matt Walker, he explains that ideally we want about 5 cycles of 5 90-minute cycles to get 8 hours of sleep per night. And you can count your cycles this way. This one I actually looks like I had 6, which is interesting because they're not, as you can see from my data, they're not all the same. But yeah, having around 5 cycles, I certainly notice when I wake up in the morning that I feel much more refreshed if I had around 5 cycles of deep And REM, I actually struggle with even more than deep. So let's bring up an example of that. Let me put the REM or deep over here and REM over here. So for my REM sleep, this one I count about 4 cycles. Tiny one here. Some people say the earlier your first REM cycle is in the night, closer to that first 90 minutes, that's better. That's also kind of rare for me. I really feel like I struggle with REM sleep consistency and dreaming. That's another indicator. So anyway, this one I count as about 4. And the reason I don't count these ones is because I know I was awake. And a lot of the time when I wake up, I will stay in bed awake with my eyes closed because I'm working at sleeping longer generally. But the Whoop will actually think I'm in REM because I have a lot of brain activity going on. And you also have a lot of brain activity when you're dreaming or when you're in REM sleep. So these ones, I know I was not awake. And I did remember some of my dreams that I had last night. But this one, I know I was awake. So I don't like to count that, even though Whoop does count that. So how did I get 4 for the number of sleep cycles? Well, I kind of just averaged the two because ideally we want 5. And so I just kind of make it up. Like sometimes I have 2, and that's really not that good. But yeah, this number actually correlates with how I really feel my sleep went the previous night. And my score, I give myself a 1 to 10 score as well each day. And that also correlates. So I had a 5 and a 3 when I only had 2 and 3 cycles here. And those can also correlate with lower total sleep over here. So you can kind of see how this can get pretty in-depth if you want. I also have frequent awakenings that I record during the night. Usually get up to go to the bathroom. It's pretty rare that I don't get up at least once. But still, actually, the last 7 days, I have had much better sleep than a lot of times in this past year. Since I've actually been wearing the Whoop for around a whole year now. So I don't want this video to be super long. There's a lot of data we could go into, but let me just, if you're not interested, maybe you turn it off. That's fine. But I'm going to go into more depth here because I've got more stuff that I'd like to talk about. So I track which pillow I used last night. I have several. My mom gave me a little one, which I like a lot. I feel like it lets me breathe better during the night. On a related note to breathing well during the night, I found that adding a humidifier in my room makes it so my nose doesn't get congested as much, because the humidity I noticed was it was around 24%, and I read that ideally you want it between 40 and 50%. So I just added that, and I think it was already much better. There's so many other things you can do, like having chamomile tea. I feel like that relaxes me in the evening more. Chamomile has apigenin, about 5 milligrams per tea bag. You can also get a supplement for that, which is more like 50 milligrams. It just kind of calms you down. So another problem, the reason I think that helps and the problem that it's solving is when I wake up too early in the night, which will sometimes be 3 a.m. if I go to bed at 9:30, my mind will be racing and I'll have lots of things I'm thinking about. So things that calm your mind down might help with that. Melatonin has been something that has helped me a lot, I think, in the past couple of weeks. I was taking that also before in different amounts for jet lag. I've been also taking some glycine, and that one I felt helped me last night, but I don't have much data on that yet. Going to the bathroom right before bed. Sometimes I forget that still. Clean your nose. Like for me, I get congested and then it's hard to breathe through my nose. And then I start maybe breathe through my mouth during the night and my mouth gets dry and that might wake me up. Nose strip helps open up the nostrils and encourage good breathing, airflow. Having an air purifier in your room, that can have a nice fan noise. That's actually another reason why I was using that. So anyway, lots of things, magnesium. So I'm definitely not done. I have a lot of work to do, I think, still on improving my sleep, but I also feel like I've made good progress. So I'm going to keep working on finding the best metrics to track like this and hopefully keep improving until I get to be very consistent. So let's look at some of these graphs. I don't think these are not amazing graphs, but you can make them without too much trouble. An easy way that you can make these, so I would just kind of select something like this, then right click and then view more cell actions, or no, it was like convert to table or insert chart or something. I can't remember actually. Maybe you select these, then you go to insert chart. I think that was it. Yeah, there you go. And then you can customize what type of chart you want. Do things like this. Yeah. Anyway, so let's look at some of these ones. Which one? Yeah, these just come directly from these numbers. Bedtime and wake time is over here. And there's, if you play with the settings, you can get them to write those times like this on each point. You can scale these up to make them easier to read, which is nice. So how would I read this bedtime and wake time? So waking up, I don't want to wake up too early, like 3 a.m. That feels bad. I've been waking up much later recently, which I feel is good. So that feels like good progress over time. So the right side here is the most recent, and then older times to the left. For bedtimes, obviously I don't want to stay up too late. That also didn't feel good. But sometimes, there's things I want to do. So I'll have a better consistency if I keep that around 9:30. All right. Then we can look at deep and REM hours. So deep is blue. I actually feel like these are pretty correct amounts. And I've been pretty decent actually at staying around the 2 hour, close to the 2 hour mark for deep, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. But for REM, unfortunately for me, like this, where I had almost 3 hours of REM on 125, that is right here. I don't believe this is true. I think I was awake a lot. See, my sleep cycles were low, 3. I gave myself a 6 out of 10 score for that. So I think I woke up and stayed in bed awake for a long time, which is why Whoop seems to think I was in REM sleep for a long time. So that's another good thing to keep in mind. So these I track the sleep cycles, awakenings, and my score. So the yellow is my score. Red are the awakenings. So we want red to be low. That lower is better. Number of sleep cycles, higher is better. And my score, higher is better. So we can kind of just look at these two and say, do they correlate? I would say generally yes. Number of sleep cycles going up correlates with a higher score. Both go down together here. They both go up together here and up over here. And what about this one over here? So this is total sleep and time awake. So we want time awake to be lower. And let's make this a little bigger. Time awake to be lower and total sleep to be higher. So back here was a little rocky. I had a lot of time awake and some up and down. I know I had some trouble sleeping a couple weeks ago, and things were difficult going up and down over here, but then starting to go up more and more since then. Like this, where I had around 7.5 hours, feels quite good, but it starts slipping. And then I think before that I had about the same thing, actually, same problem, where they're just deteriorating. Like I was feeling pretty good sleeping, and then things are just getting more and more difficult as time goes on. So then I work on tracking more and figuring out other ways to help get better sleep. And then they work pretty well. I think the melatonin was a big one. All right. So that is going through graphs. You can make custom graphs like this if you like. Now there's a lot more data from Whoop. So let's just take a quick look at that. All right, so sleep here, we can visualize my year. So this is sleep performance, I'm pretty sure. So the lighter is better. So darker is worse sleep, pretty much. And I had quite a bit of that throughout the year. Recovery is an interesting metric because I heard it's relative to your own HRV changing. So green is good and red is lower recovery, but that could mean more like you didn't, like on red days you could have not given yourself enough rest after doing really hard exercise or something. So that's how I read that. Day strain, that's probably just how much I exercised. So the very light ones, I didn't do very many super hard strains. I did a lot of, less than 10 strains. I did quite a lot of running, as you can see here, and some other metrics there. Moving on, let's look at sleep consistency. I put these together so here's from December to January and January to February. I think these are really useful. If you open up in Whoop, you can click on the month, week, or 6 months views. And the month by month views are quite telling. So from mid-December to January, you can see here, the sleep consistency went way down. This was because I went on actually came back from Taiwan on a 10-hour flight, and I had terrible jet lag when I got back. So it took me a while, more than a week, to get my sleep consistency back, and then, still had some struggles. Yeah, it got worse during January for maybe still jet lag, maybe something else. And got that consistency back up again, and then it got worse again and had to work back up till now. It's getting more consistent again. And here's just this week. So you can also go into the week view. And yeah, this has been a good week for my sleep. So let's move on and look at hours versus need. These graphs, so this is a 6-month view on the left. Now these ones, we want to see them come closer together because that means you're getting the number of hours that you need, which is green. And this is the average number of hours you're actually getting, which is gray. So we want those to come together. And that's better. And so from August, after September, which was a rough time for my sleep, really rough actually. I was working really hard during October and November to improve that, which I did. And then in December, I actually got my best sleep of the whole year, despite jet lag, which you can see that little spike down there. And 13 and 10-hour plane flights, you can kind of see those spikes there. That was on our way there. Surprisingly, the jet lag is not bad at all on the way to Taiwan. But when you come back the other direction, it takes me like a month to recover. So, in December, I had like a week of 100% sleep, really good sleep. And then we got back and it was hard again. Okay, and then you can look from November to December. This was all in Taiwan. Actually, no, the very end of November, that's when we took the plane flight. So, but yeah, where these lines cross, that is where you're meeting your sleep need. And that's good. That's really good to see that happening. And I didn't do that for the majority of last year until I really started working at it. So these are an interesting way to look at your sleep progress. December to January, had another plane flight there. And then this month, February. So I was struggling in the middle, or January and beginning of February. And you can see recently these lines are crossing. It's a good sign, good progress. All right, next, sleep performance. This one's interesting because it's it's one of those main metrics that Whoop shows you every day when you wake up. Like, did you sleep well last night or not? And it is important. However, it's only one view of your sleep. It doesn't give you the whole picture, I think. So September, I had pretty poor sleep, very poor sleep. I remember I felt awful for the first 3 weeks in September. I was waking up a lot every night. I was really itchy, had some rash. And So maybe that affected my sleep performance also in October, or maybe October starts here. And yeah, you can see it went, you can kind of look at the graph in the background here and see where it really went down in performance, because the 6-month view only gives you averages. So it's important to keep that in mind as you're trying to read these. But yeah, things got much better in November and December. And then in January, things got tough again. I guess this is probably where the beginning of December is, because that's when we went to Taiwan. And then we got back and I had some rough nights here too. And then this is the month view. You can also see December 1st, very end of November is when we took the plane flight, and I had no data for sleep, and came right on Christmas. We came back, also had no data from plane flight back. All right, let's move on. Resting heart rate. Why is this related to sleep tracking? Well, they only take this data while you're asleep. So this is a good way to see if you're doing aerobic exercise and if it's helping. So here is the view for most of last year, 2024, March, when I got the Whoop. That's when I really started tracking my running. I wanted to see if it's improving my average resting heart rate, and that was consistently going down. And then in September, I had a terrible sleep, and I decided to stop focusing on running a lot and instead focus on improving my sleep hygiene. So my resting heart rate got worse because I wasn't working out my cardio as much anymore. But as we got back from our trip in January, I started running quite a lot more, and yeah, my resting heart rate's going back down. So that's how I read that. Restorative sleep. Yeah, this is a cool graph to look at, I think. And Whoop has its own good definitions, which I should bring up, and you should read them. They're good. But yeah, so restorative sleep is REM and deep. And I just like this view. If you look at the month-by-month view, you can see this is the most recent, February. Pretty solid looking blocks here of deep and REM, and then gets shakier as you go backwards in time, when I know I was having a harder time with sleep. But also keep in mind the REM amounts here. Sometimes I was awake for a lot of this REM that's showing up here as purple. So the pink, I think that is more realistic data. The purple, yeah, not as much. But this is much better. I think this is much more realistic recently. The REM is much better. Anyway, so I actually couldn't fit any more graphs on this spreadsheet. I think it ran out of ability to take more graphs in there. And this video has gone on for a long time anyway. So I think I'm just going to end it here and say thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. Let me know if you have any comments of what you'd like me to show next time, because I probably will make another video eventually about tracking sleep, because I think it's one of the most important things for my health anyway. And so the better you can track it, the better you can make improvements, I think. And yeah, in general, if you want to see me make more videos, subscribing would probably help that. So thank you.